Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the Rising Liger Panzer. This is the latest release in the Zoids Wild Biographies line that you can officially only get through the Takara Tomy Mall website, and I'm guessing a lot of you are pretty excited about this one. Let me rain on everyone's parade right away though by telling you that I can't show you a comparison to either one of the Liger Zero Panzer versions because I don't have those. But we're going to compare this guy to absolutely everything else I can think of and also do the usual unboxing and see if it can still walk with those BFGs. Let's get started.
Robo Shop.
Alright, here we go. The box, of course, is your standard Zoids Wild Biographies fare here. We've got the black silhouette of the actual Zoid. It says Rising Liger Panzer. This is number 7 in the line. Can't believe there's that many already. And we have the affiliation symbol here. Everything else is, what we've come to expect. If this is your first time here, I've talked about these boxes a million times before, well actually 6 times before. There isn't really all that much to say about them. It's a standard design where really only this ever changes. Everything else is always the same. If you haven't seen my other reviews, go watch them after this one, and subscribe while you're at it. So, let's take a look at what we've got in here. Instructions, all the parts in one bag, and the gearboxes, of course. Get this off the table and knock the camera in the process. So, here's the gearbox with the motor. This is, of course, a standard Zoids Wild gearbox, same as the vast majority of them have had. And here we have the Rising Liger gearbox with the revolver cylinder here and these 2 levers for the blade thing attachment, if I remember correctly. Or no, this is for the cannon moving back and forth, of course. Nice collar. And this is where the blade attaches. And you can see here how the 2 things are connected. Now, parts. So A, we're doing these in alphabetical order. A has apparently the armor bits, yep, and the pilot seat is loose for some reason. I think this was already the case in the original Rising Liger. Don't know why they keep doing that, but well, they're doing it. Hold on, this isn't the armor. This is the bone mode parts essentially. So we have, of course, the exact same parts as on the original Rising Liger. But they are molded in this sort of military greenish color, which is also quite glossy actually. Here are the torso halves, and this is the rest of the legs, of course. In here we have the rest of bone mode. I don't think there's any need for us to look at each one of these parts individually. If you want to see a more detailed unboxing with all of the parts, I do have a review of the original Rising Liger on my channel, so you can go check that out if you want. Here we have the feet, the blade, and the cannon here that I was talking about before, all molded in this silver color. We'll do a color comparison later on in the photo booth, of course. This is the part that goes, like the mouth cannon, the part that goes on the throat here, the teeth. Let's take a look at B. This should be the armor, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what's in here is going to be just as much of a surprise for me as it is for you. because it's been a while since I've looked at pictures of this thing, and as you may have noticed earlier, the instructions don't have an actual picture of this version of the Zoid on them. Yeah, this is some of the armor here, molded in this really nice sort of dull gray color. More armor. This is parts of the main. Here is one side of the head armor. Yeah, and more of these armor bits all molded in this sort of also very militaristic looking gray color. And then we have what appears to be sort of gunmetal-ish parts, but let's take a look at these. One pre-painted bit. It's not really gunmetal. Let's take a look. Here is, this is the part that the blade attaches to, if I remember correctly. Yeah, no, it is kind of gunmetal. It's just a very warm gunmetal gray. This goes on the tail. These are the inside bits for the main here. Wait, this is the pilot seat. Okay, but then I can't remember what this one was. You know, the part that was free floating. Actually, can't remember what this was. And this also goes on the tail, if I remember correctly. And here we have the first part that has a little bit of paint on it. This is what I've not so lovingly come to refer to as the bunny ears. But it has this really cool looking red stripe here that goes, as you can see, all around, and it's in this groove here. Very precise painting too, and a really cool color that's gonna stand out against the rest really well. Then we have oh wow, there's a lot in here. Let me clean up this mess a bit first. And by clean up the mess, of course, I mean, you know, move the parts out of the way a little, like so. Okay, so this is the cannons that go on the back, and I'm just realizing I'm going to have to do a comparison between these and the Gojulus cannons from the older releases, because if nothing else, these definitely look very, very similar with these boosters on the back here and this hydraulic piston. However, they do have one thing that the old version didn't have, which is another red stripe painted on them right here. And I mean, obviously these are going to go together like this, and then you'll have this really neat stripe here just before the muzzle device. And finally, we have the S-Bag, which as usual, I'm going to be a little more minimalistic with, because there's a lot of stuff in here that looks like it's easy to lose. The eyes are molded in a similar red color, or actually the exact same red color. Let me take a look here. Yeah, the exact same red color as the red painted detail, which will tie together the color scheme very nicely, of course. And we have the caps, which are molded in a different red color, but that's okay. And otherwise, yeah, there's just the same mechanical bits here that we had in the original Rising Liger and the Pilot. No stickers, I think. Let's see if there's stickers in here. Doesn't look that way, but we do have two different instruction booklets here, of course, because this thing isn't just a recolor like the last one. So this is just the bog standard Rising Liger instructions. A little disappointing that they couldn't be bothered to print a new cover page for this. Can't get my words out today. And here is the separate extra instruction sheet that actually says Rising Liger Panzer on it, which of course shows how the cannons go together. and how you attach them, which isn't that hard to figure out, but we have instructions, nothing on the back. And it also shows, oh, this is cool. It also shows this here, which is the option to assemble the cannons without the big fat barrel. So that is another comparison picture that I'm going to have to take, of course, which is a perfect segue for me to say that that's it for the unboxing. I'm going to get this thing put together now, and then we're going to check it out in the photo booth. And we're going to start with the obvious comparison, which is to the original Rising Liger. When you look at them this way, it stands out even more just how ridiculously huge these cannons are, of course, but I'm sorry, if you're a fan of Zoids and you can't appreciate ridiculously oversized guns, well, I think I've said it before. Come on. Here's a look at them without the cannons on to give you a better idea of how the collars compare. I wouldn't say one is necessarily better than the other, they're just totally different. I like the gold of the original a lot, and I said as much in that review, but the new collar scheme is really well done too. Just, well, like I said, it's a totally different style. Here's a comparison to the Clive Diaz Liger. I guess the guns on that one are a bit less ridiculous, but honestly I think overall the Rising Liger wins this one. While we're at it, here's a look at the Liger on its own without the cannons. Almost looks better this way, but you'll never hear me say that out loud. Moving on. Here it is with the cannons shortened. Also looks cool. And speaking of the cannons, they do look exactly the same as the old Gojala's cannons, as you can see, but there are two differences. The first is that the new mounting piece is designed to fit on the standard size Zoids Wild pegs and not require a rubber cap, and the second is that on the originals, the barrel wasn't two separate pieces, so you actually can't shorten those the same way you can with the new version. And because the cannons can be attached to standard Zoids Wild pegs, you can also mount them on the Zero Grises. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the new cannons were originally designed for this purpose and available separately, but I never did get my hands on them. Now, aside from the fact that I did just take these pictures because it was an excuse to get my Zero Grises dark form back into the photo booth, I actually do think these look great on it, other than the fact that the collars don't really fit, of course. I really wish I had them in a more appropriate collar now, and I'm certainly not blowing another wad of cash on a Rising Panzer just for the cannons, but oh well. Let's see it in action. And much to the surprise of physicists and engineers everywhere, it actually still walks fine. I will say though, I think the fact that the cannons are attached to the legs makes them move up and down a bit too much. It doesn't look that great. But blast mode still works fine and everything, so that's great of course. And that's about all I've got to show you guys for this one. I'll get my criticisms out of the way first, or actually I only have one, and that's the relative lack of painted parts. I really wish they hadn't stopped painting the leg pistons like they did on the earlier Biographies Ligers, and there's clearly some spots in the armor where they could have added some more red stripes. I honestly kind of get the impression that they're reducing the factory painted elements because it's getting to be too expensive. The Psycho Spino also almost had nothing. That's it though, other than that I'm really digging this one. The new collars are much better than I expected them to be, and I should also mention that this one also has glossy bones and dull armor like the Spino did, as you can hopefully see at least somewhat in the pictures. It looks really great, and I'll never not be a fan of these types of militaristic color schemes, especially if they involve a lot of cool grey and olive green. So in conclusion, I'd say we've got ourselves another winner here. And that's it for this one, folks. I've got the Xenorex Storm coming eventually, but I don't know how far off that one is, so I'll probably do something else first. Whatever that is though, I've always got more Zoids and other sci-fi modeling stuff coming, so if that's what floats your boat and you're not subscribed to my channel yet, now's as good a time as any to finally fix that. I also have PayPal and Patreon links in the description below if you'd like to support me, but if you're like me and your Zoids budget is always tight, just liking this video and sitting through the ads instead of skipping over them already helps me out. In the meantime, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.